20HX, for those of you who don't already know, is a term that I've ripped off from the Smash Bros. Melee community. 20XX. Why? Because I'm a huge Melee fan, but also because it just works for Halo 5. The term 20HX essentially depicts an arbitrary date in the future, so year 20HX, where Halo players at the highest level of play are pulling off the game's most difficult techniques with flawless execution. That means that they're hitting 100% of their spring jumps, and they're using spring jumps in scenarios where it's most optimal to do so, while also taking advantage of the game's very challenging advanced movement techniques to get around a map more efficiently and more quickly. For today, we're going to continue the Mastering Movement series that I started with Plaza last week, but apply this 20HX concept to navigating and controlling Ring 1, 2, and 3 in Refuge. And I know Refuge is the most notoriously despised competitive map in Halo 5 right now, but interestingly, when you add this 20HX meta to it, it adds a surprising layer of depth, and just playing on the map, from my opinion at least, becomes more entertaining. Alright, so Refuge. Whether you're playing Slayer or CTF, especially Slayer, a huge part of your success in this map comes from your ability to control Ring 3. Ring 3 is the highest point of elevation on the entire map, meaning you've got a high ground advantage over your opponents. You can rain fire onto the enemies below, but you're also an easy target when you're up here, so the moment that you're spotted, you need to be aware of enemy snipers, enemy team shots. You can get melted in just a couple seconds. Usually when you're up here, you get first shot advantage, like players don't immediately expect you to be up here, so you get the first shot, but once you're found out, you just need to be careful. You can get taken out in seconds. But that being said, there are techniques that you can use to stay alive and juke at your opponents, and worst case scenario, you can drop off and get your shields back, and if you drop off, there are a variety of ways to get back up. Advanced ways, easy ways, there are a whole variety of ways to get back up here. Let's start with the basics. This jump from Ring 2 to Ring 3 is crucial. This is the standard way to get up to Ring 3. This jump should be easy for you to pull off. You should be pulling it off consistently, confidently, every single time you go for it, regardless whether or not you go for the left or the right side. It's not a difficult jump to do. Just jump, hold crouch, you're up on this beam. Jump, hold crouch, hold clamber, you're up on Ring 3. You don't even need to hold crouch for the second jump, but you should get in the habit of holding crouch in all your jumps just so you get a higher peak height on your standard jump, unless it's like a very specific scenario, but we'll worry about that later. One thing to know with this jump to Ring 3 on the right side is to always do a late jump so that you can hug this wall and get up there nice and consistently. If you jump too early off of this beam, you might displace yourself too far and miss the clamber. So if you do a late jump and kind of just like hug your body up against the wall there, you can get that clamber consistently on the right side every single time. There are a variety of ways to get up onto this ledge. Usually what I do is just kind of like thrust slide, hold crouch, and get into it, or you can just slide jump, jump, hold crouch, whatever. But typically you'd be pushing out from the hut, thrust slide, maybe pop yourself up with a stabilizer or something for a second. Typically players would be pushing from car when you're doing this as well, so always kind of having your reticle prepared to get into a battle on car if that's necessary. And if there's somebody on car, you jump backwards and you get up here. You can even use a thrust like I just did if you mess up, just to make sure that you get up there and you're in a good spot to take another battle. Now, one thing that people don't consider about jumping up on this ledge, let's say that you're pushing hut this way, or you're pushing this base and you want to take advantage of this ledge. What a lot of people do is they'll push out, start firing shots, and like try to keep their reticle effectively placed while they kind of like crouch jump backwards and then jump, hold crouch, hold clamber to get up here. And you can do that, and in certain scenarios that might be the right thing to do, to put like apply pressure like that. But also know that while you can't clamber the front of this, you can clamber the sides of these things, like of these jump ups. So if that's the case, then if you want to just get up there really quickly and take advantage of this ledge, you can just sprint, slide jump, hold clamber, and then jump backwards, hold clamber, and you're already up on Ring 3, and just put yourself in cover immediately after that. So if you know that there's no immediate battles, like there's nobody with a sniper on hut, maybe players are spawning over in rocks, and you don't want to like get seen by them immediately, or you just want to get up on Ring 3 real quick, just sprint, jump, hold clamber, hold crouch, whatever, you know, get up there on Ring 3 nice and quickly. You can clamber from the other side as well, and the only scenario where I would think you'd want to do that is if you're trying to avoid getting shot at from car, but you still want to get up, so you can kind of like thrust into it, or do a variety of ways to kind of give yourself some cover like that, kind of while you're jumping up. You can use both sides. Just remember that it's clamberable from the sides, so it's a nice convenient way to get up to Ring 3 real quick. Alright, so you did the jump, you're on Ring 3, what's next? How do you navigate this part of the map? Now, the first thing I'd recommend, if you want to go from here over to this beam, is try to get in the habit of doing what I like to call a short hop. That means you hold crouch before you jump, and then jump afterwards. If you hold crouch before you jump and then jump, you get a lower peak height on your jump, your head doesn't raise up as high, meaning if enemies are looking for you, it's harder for them to see you, harder for them to shoot you. You keep a low profile as you traverse this area of the map more effectively. Now, it's not necessary to do, but in this scenario, it makes sense, especially because this is so low. If you want your feet to hit this beam nice and early, hold crouch, jump, uncrouch in the air, and then land, and you're on here, and you can strafe around, you can move around more comfortably. You shouldn't be jumping too much if you're up here, but if you are going to jump around up here, you should be very confident jumping around. You should just get used to jumping around here comfortably, confidently, intimately understand the range of your clamber, not just so you can like save yourself if you're going to miss, but intimately understand it so that you can purposely jump out too far and clamber up the other direction like that. Like if you want to immediately get into a battle from another angle, then you can jump out purposely too far and then clamber back up, and you're right here. And that sets you up for something called a drop back clamber, which we'll talk about in a second. That's the main way to stay alive when you're up here. Now, also, don't thrust. Don't waste your time thrusting up here, burning thrust, making yourself an obvious target and using a valuable lifeline. Only thrust if you're under pressure. You're like one shot. That's like the only scenario you need to thrust. 99% of the time, you're not thrusting here unless you're under a ton of pressure. And pay attention to these 4 pillars as well. These are your pals, your buddies. This is one of the best areas to stay alive, to get some cover. The main area, like main source of cover, especially because let's say you're pushing this base, you've got the hut, you've got the base, you've got the rocks. By pushing my body into the wall, I've cut off 2 of those options, and now I've isolated a battle in the rocks area of the map, right? So if I'm doing it from the other side, I can cut off the rocks, I can cut off the base, I can isolate a battle in sniper. So always be aware of this, and also be aware, this is one of the many inconsistencies on this map, that you can jump off of this one. And this is not super crucial to know how to do. You just jump, hold, crouch, and then jump off of it, and you can cheese people. I don't know, you can get a nice angle. Maybe you can like launch their sniper or something. Just jump, hold, crouch. You can bounce off of this. You can even stand up on top of it if you like time a thrust into it, but not super useful. Just like a scenario specific kind of like cheesy thing. It doesn't work on the other ones to my knowledge. If anybody in the comments happens to know, you can feel free to let me know. The last and most difficult technique you can take advantage of when you're up here is the drop back clamber. And if you guys have seen my live streams, I do this all the time, sometimes at great times, sometimes at terrible times, but it is such a useful technique to get in the hang of. It's a process of dropping off of an edge and clambering back up immediately, and it works so effectively for getting out of battles, entering new ones, or just juking people and continuing to apply pressure without actually falling down to ring 2 and keeping your presence in the top of the map. Like, literally, you'll be pushing your body up against the wall. People are shooting at you. These are one of the best scenarios to do it, because then you've isolated the angle, so you're just looking at sniper, let's say, and these guys can't see you. The sniper guy's looking at you. You fire shots into him. He starts firing back. Drop back clamber. That's enough time for him to think that you've left. You've gone down to ring 2. He will shift his focus somewhere else and look at something else, and you get an opportunity to get free shots on him. Now, the first time it usually works. If you do it twice, it might not work anymore. Like if you do a bit of the spammy stuff, like so you do it, you come back, you miss your shots, you might need to drop off for good after that. But if you can get in the hang of dropping back, clambering back up, and keeping your reticle effectively placed, and knowing the timings of shooting immediately after you clamber back up, so you're just so confident fighting up here, you can be so cheesy. You can stay alive for like hours up here and get so many kills and just milk the shit out of everyone. Like I'm not even kidding. It's hilarious, and it's a great technique to take advantage of. Now, it's not that hard to do. I have a specific technique for doing it. I've explained it so many times, but one more time here. I hold crouch, and by holding crouch, I cap out my movement speed at a lower speed, because you can't just fall back and clamber back up. If you fall back too fast, you won't reach it with a clamber. You got to go back slowly, meaning you want to go back on a diagonal like that. Or you want to hold crouch to cap out your movement speed, and then hold backwards. You can peg your left stick backwards and then clamber back up. And the easiest way to do it is out of a clamber. So like if you purposely jump too far, like I was saying earlier, purposely jump too far, clamber it from the other side, like over here, let's say, and then from the clamber, just keep crouch held the whole time. Like I'm holding crouch on my left stick, pulling back, and then pressing clamber. And you're not going to see it very well. It's mirrored, guys, just so you know. I'm not using like a right-handed controller. I'm holding left stick crouch down, pulling back, pressing left bumper to clamber myself back up. And of course, you don't want to spam it too quickly. You got to be like prepared to shoot. It's all scenario specific, but just get in the habit of doing it. And if you do it out of an immediate clamber, you're already in position. So all you're doing is just like holding clamber, tilting back on that left stick, letting your player fall, clambering back up. So cheesy, so effective. Get in the hang of doing this. Get so confident doing this. It will help you in the long game. One more quick note on the drop back clamber before we move on. Understand that it is easier to drop back clamber on ledges that have a gradual slope than it is to do it on something that's like a 90-degree angle like this. So like it's way easier to do a drop back clamber here than it is to do one right off of this 90-degree slope. It's like, it looks like I'm doing it okay here, but it's so easy to just miss it, like walk too fast and miss it, or you can do it too early and like jump. I would say try to avoid doing it on these 90-degree slopes if you can. It's just under pressure, you're going to miss this a lot more often. If you're doing it on here, it's way more consistent. So try to put yourself in situations where you're doing it on these arms or on the outside like this. This one's a nice gradual slope as well, rather than doing it on the 90 degrees here. So if you want to challenge somebody on car and you're planning on using a drop back clamber in the middle of that fight, instead of doing it like here on that 90-degree slope where it's difficult, challenge him this way. Go up this way, jump on this arm, and put yourself against this wall, and now you're fighting the guy in car, drop back clamber, you get back into that fight. It's a way better spot to do it from. You're way more confident here. On top of the fact that you got way more cover, way better exit strategy, like it's just a better spot to challenge from. Also, try not to jump in situations you don't need to. You can fall directly on these. You can just walk, push your body up against this, and just walk out to it, and you don't need to jump. Or you can clamber. Fall on it and clamber like that. So you can kind of catch yourself without the need to do some like big high jump and try to position yourself slowly. As far as Ring 1 and Ring 2 go, there's not as much nuance to these areas in the map. It's not as important to control as Ring 3, but it is important to be here, especially if you got to grab the power weapon. These are more so transitionary areas in the map that you'll be in temporarily to get up to Ring 3 or to get to other places that you need to go to in the map. If you are in this area, if you're in Ring 1, your best exit strategy is to jump and hold crouch to get up to here. Always know that that's available. It's not a hard jump to do. This is something to keep in mind, especially to try to get out of this cubby if you're trying to stay alive quickly, to do that, or maybe to like kind of sprint, slide your way out of there. You could also spring jump to get up to these ledges, so you can kind of like slide jump, bounce your head off of the roof to get a nice low quick jump like that, and then spring jump up just like that to get a nice quick, and you want to try to incorporate some of your 20HX practice in there and spring jump up here, but not the most useful spring jumps, honestly, maybe for like a quick escape. But when you have a jump like this right next door, it's not as crucial unless you're specifically trying to get up to here maybe and get a quick jump over this way. So just something to know, but not as much to do, not as much to talk about in Ring 2 and Ring 1. Now, as far as getting to Ring 2 and Ring 3 from the outside of the map, there are a variety of ways to do this, and they range from very easy to very, very challenging. There's some very advanced ways to get up to Ring 3 really quickly, and we will take a look at all of those. Now, of course, you've got your jump up here, which is nice and simple. You've got the car route as well. You can also go from the hut across the bridge or straight through the front door up into Ring 2, or you can do what I like to do all the time as a starting strat, and I see Proximity do this, other players do this as well, is you sprint forward, thrust, slide, jump, stabilize, mash crouch, or hold crouch. Remember, if you mash crouch, you keep your peak height in the stabilize, so you super jump your way up there. And that's what I do as a starting strat all the time without fail. It's not too difficult once you get in the hang of doing the super jump. It's a great way to get up onto this bridge nice and quickly. What you're doing is sprinting, thrust slide, jump, immediately jump out of the thrust slide, activate, stabilize, and then hold or mash crouch and clamber up here. The next part in that starting strat would be, so you would thrust slide, jump, stabilize up, and then toss a nade as you jump up to the jump up, right over where these guys, like if somebody's going to try to use this jump to get up to Ring 2, that nade can pelt him, and then you go up here and you chill here for a second, get ready to shoot the guy at rockets, or fire a nade, drop a nade at him. Be aware of the fact that somebody could be car, so maybe, it depends on the scenario. Usually I come up that way, but you could come up this way alternatively to try to avoid car and just focus here. Also be aware of the fact that people can do that to you as well, right? So they can come up, they can try to shoot you, have your drop back clamber ready, and I mess it up, but have something like that ready so that you can juke players out, you can stay alive if you need to. So that's a great way to get up to these bridges. It works on all the bridges using that super jump. Of course, you can do it on the other side as well, and that's one of the crucial ways to get up to the bridge from a variety of different angles. Nice quick access to Ring 2. Another quick way to get to Ring 2 immediately, and this is yet another inconsistency in this map, we're going to see a bunch of these, but it's to spring jump from here up to here. So only on the red side can you actually spring jump immediately up to here, which is super helpful to know, because a lot of the time when you're in this spot, you're one shot. Like you drop down, you're one shot, you want to get back up to Ring 2 to try to stay alive so you can avoid people who might be in rocks or who might be trying to shoot you from the hut or this bridge, and in the process of trying to jump up here and then crouch jump backwards or whatever to get up to Ring ring 2, you end up revealing yourself to so many angles when you clamber up on here. But if you know you can spring jump, bam, you're out of there in 1 second, and you hug the wall the whole time so you avoid getting shot at from that bridge. Now, it's unfortunate, if you're on the blue side, it just doesn't seem to work. It's too high. Like, I can do as many spring jumps as I want, but it doesn't seem to get me up there. Now, Ethan Luculent, who is one of my viewers, told me that there is a way to do this. Maybe there's a specific point that you can stand on to get up there, but if it's not here, if it's not in this spot, then it makes it less useful, you know, because you want it to be, like, right in this area where you have this cover, where you're in a clutch situation, you're one shot, you got to stay alive, and then you spring jump your way out of there. But it doesn't seem to work on the blue side. It does work on red, though, so keep that in mind. All right, from here on out, things are about to get very difficult, very high level. This is where we incorporate the 20HX meta to navigate this map. Now, remember how I said you can use the super jump, thrust, slide, jump, stabilize, hold crouch to get up to this ledge? You can also do what's called a spring thrust. This map takes such great advantage of the spring thrust mechanic. You can use it to get up to the bridges and straight up to ring 3 as well, and it's so useful in certain scenarios. What it does is it allows you to hit the same height, the peak height of your super jump, but on a dime, out of a standstill. So you jump, hold crouch, land and crouch, spring thrust, stabilize, hold crouch, clamber, you get up onto this bridge. Now, very difficult technique to pull off consistently, and I had to use a second thrust to hit the wall there because I missed it. You get to line things up perfectly. You have to be so consistent at spring jumping and at thrusting frame perfectly out of the spring jump. And I have finally gotten it down to a point where I can spring jump and spring thrust on command, as you can see. It took a lot of grinding, but there is a specific technique that I use to hit the spring jump more consistently every time, and this is a technique that only works on bumper jumper or hell jumper, because I play on bumper jumper, so keep that in mind. I will explain it, though, for those of you who do play on that scheme, is to jump, fall on the floor, in crouch, so land in crouch. Next step is to release crouch, followed by jump, but almost simultaneously. The two actions are happening within like 3 frames of each other in a 60 FPS game, so it's a very fast release crouch followed by jump. Now, typically what you would do if you're playing a bumper jumper or hell jumper is release your left thumb off the left stick and then clench your left index finger on the left bumper to jump. And that's two opposite actions for your hand, right? You're releasing with your left thumb, you're clenching with your left index finger. For me personally, that is difficult to wrap my head around. It is difficult to commit two opposite actions on the hand to muscle memory, like releasing and clenching. So instead, I figured it's better to do actions that complement each other. So instead of releasing your thumb off of the left stick, try flicking it upwards in a pinching motion like that. So what's happening is your finger and your thumb are pinching together, doing two actions that complement each other, and you can commit it to muscle memory. In the process of flicking upwards, you're releasing the crouch inadvertently as well, right? So you just get in the hang of getting that timing down on the upward flick, and now you see I'm hitting these pretty consistent spring jumps just because of this habit that I built up, this muscle memory. There's still a learning curve to this. You just got to practice it. The next step is to instantly thrust afterwards. This is something that I had a huge mental block on for the longest time, mainly because I have a paddle under the left side of the controller that I use to thrust. So that was 3 actions on my hand. I was doing the pinch and I was pressing the button on the paddle underneath the controller to try to do the thrust timing perfectly, and by trying to press thrust, I was messing up my pinch timing, so I was messing up the spring jump every time. What I realized, and if you're having an issue like this, which is maybe a very small segment of people, don't worry about the paddle anymore. Instead, just focus with your left hand on getting the spring jump and press the face button for the thrust. Ever since I've started doing this, I'm hitting it so much more consistently because I don't have to worry about the bottom of the controller anymore. I just worry about a standard spring jump like any other spring jump, and with my right thumb, I just press X, and I'm literally getting 80 to 90% consistency on my spring thrust because of this. Like literally right here, spring thrust, stabilize, I'm up to ring 3. That is 20HX. Not to make a whole spring thrusting video, I should probably do a separate video and talk about that a little bit more, but once you got that technique down, you can get up to ring 3 so easily from these sides, from the car sides like I just showed you. And it's way more effective than like typically what people would do is they would try to spring jump off of this specific point and then like kind of stabilize and grab it. And you want to have, if you want to do it, you want to have some momentum coming into that spring jump as well. So it's just like there's so much setup required. We want to spring jump here and then stabilize. Now you're up. But I needed momentum where I had to like kind of jump from this direction. I can't just like on a dime just, you know, do this, spring jump and then grab it because it'll send me out the other direction. But the beauty of the spring thrust is really quickly on a dime, even if like, you know, I just got shots into somebody, he backed down, immediately I can like spring thrust, I can get up here from this situation where normally it'd be very dangerous to stand out here too long, right? Players might have an angle on you, whatever it is. You got to be very aware of the scenario that's happening around you so that you can take advantage of the technique at the right time. But when you get it down, man, you start navigating this map so quickly. You're up and down between ring 2 and ring 3. You don't have to only use this standard route to get up here. You get way more flexibility. It's such a crucial technique. When you get this shit down, it changes the map. Just for the sake of being thorough, instead of spring jumping or spring thrusting to get from car up to ring 3, you can also do the super jump like this, thrust, slide, jump, stabilize, and you can get up there. But you need the runway for this, and if somebody's looking at you from hut, they can really destroy you as you try to thrust slide across. So you have to have a hard prediction on the fact that people are spawning in rocks or somebody's not going to get an immediate angle on you, and you have the safety necessary to do this technique. Also, be careful when you time that thrust and slide. Understand that there's a little change in elevation here. The floor changes, so if you're going to sprint, thrust, slide, try to start your thrust slide like this instead. So sprint, line yourself up straight with the runway like that, and then do the thrust slide straight instead of doing your thrust across like that and getting into a situation where you've messed up your slide and you can't do it anymore. So line yourself up straight like that, thrust slide, jump, stabilize, hold crouch, clamber, you get up there nice and effectively. And this is some other advanced thing that you probably won't use very much, but you can kneecap this as well. You can do something like that and get into ring 2 really, really quickly. I think there's a way to kneecap and get up to ring 3. I think it would be stupid to try to do that, though, because you're flying for so long, so much airtime. Note that when I am kneecapping here, to get a nice effective kneecap, so what you're doing is you're sprinting, jumping with your sprint maintained forward, timing a perfect thrust so your kneecaps, your shins, bank off of this little edge here, and as you're thrusting, like when you thrust, hold the jump button immediately after you thrust. And by doing that, it sends you on a higher arc. I don't know how it works. I don't really get some aspects of the system I don't get, but you jump, thrust, hold the jump button down, it sends you on a higher arc. Something about holding the jump button just sends you higher up. All right, let's push the meta even further. I got 2 more jumps. These jumps are super difficult to pull off. They are super nerdy, but I have not seen them utilized in competitive play. People are not taking advantage of these, and if you master it, you can get it down consistently, and you can get some pretty great advantages off of it as well. The first one is from here up to car. It's a slide jump kneecap against the wall up to car. I probably won't get it first try, but slide jump, I got it first try. Let's go, baby. So basically, you sprint, you slide right before you make contact with the wall, jump, and then hold crouch, and you can get up there with a clamber. Hold crouch, hold clamber. So it's not easy to pull off. The timing of the slide is very important. You kind of want to slide up against a rock, like right over here in this general area. Time the slide right before you make contact with the wall. Jump, hold crouch. So slide, jump, hold crouch, and then you can get up there. It's difficult to pull off consistently, but I've done it twice here. I guarantee if you practice this, you can get this down pretty damn consistently. And if you think of a scenario where, like, you're in a battle here and the guy dips behind wall sheet or something, there's so many situations where you're like, God damn it, I just want to kill that guy. Bam, nade this dude and he's dead. Like, imagine how sick that would be. Now you're up here, spring thrust. That's some 20H. What the fuck? Did I just get up there without even... That's some 20HX right there. Either. You get the point. Note that you can do it from both sides, but along with the many inconsistencies in this map, you can see the rock structure is different here. I don't know who designed this, though, who put rocks here just so we could slide jump up them. Like, did they imagine that this would happen? Like, so crazy, the stuff that's in this game, that, like, if these rocks were in here, I'm not even sure if this would be possible, but you can do it both sides, as you can see. Here's the last one, and this one's pretty sick. You spawned in rocks, you want to get to ring 3 immediately. Watch this. And you're up. Fucking sick. Now this one is another kneecap jump like the one I did earlier. You need to have your sprint maintained throughout. So when you're jumping off of this first rock, it can't be a crouch jump. It has to just be a standard jump so you can keep your sprint maintained. You have full sprint speed as you make your way over to the second rock. So typically you want to start right about here because then it gives you this perfect lineup to jump over to this rock if you start behind this rock like this. So if you do spawn in this area, even if you spawn over here, just try to position yourself like that so that you can come at it and then do your thrust off the rock. And getting a perfect thrust that actually reaches up here is very difficult to do. And remember how I said you want to time the thrust and then hold down the jump button immediately after so you get a higher arc on the thrust? You need to do that as well. So jump, thrust, hold jump button, stabilize, mash crouch to get the height, and then you can get up on that ledge. Now, on the red side, you can actually stand on this ledge. So if I do it perfectly, I should be able to stand up there. And I can't guarantee that it'll There you go. You can stand on top of the ledge as long as I want. And this is just one of the inconsistencies in this damn map. Once again, I wish it didn't have so many inconsistencies, but you can't stand on the other side. From my knowledge, at least, unless there's somebody who knows, but I practiced this, you cannot. I can't stand on the other side. It's just that you can even see, you can tell when you look at it, it doesn't jut out as far. You can see it's definitely not jutting out as far as the opposite side. So you can still do the jump from the blue side, but in order to do the jump from the blue side, it's a lot harder. You have to get up there perfectly, and then you have to jump immediately when you land on it, and then stabilize up to get up to the next one. It's very tough to pull off from the blue side, honestly. So you typically want to do it from red side, but even if you're doing this jump from blue side, you could still like aim it so that you go this way, and I messed up the timing on the thrust, but you can just land immediately in ring 2 alternatively. Either way, super high level, really sick way to get up to ring 3. It's possible from both sides, but easier on the red side. Let me know what you guys think. There you have it, another long, detailed analysis on how to navigate ring 1, 2, and 3 on Refuge, taking advantage of that 20HX spring jump meta. Some pretty awesome stuff showcased in the video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell beside the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think of these jumps and if you're going to use them in your gameplay. Make sure to join my community on Discord, linked in the description below, and tune into my live stream, twitch.tv/theshyway. I will be streaming tonight as well. I will link that in the comments.